Hello, today we're going to be going over our East-West Alta, the 2350 KRK. And we're going to be starting right up front here with our tongue jack. Basically, you're going to have two controls. Or one here on the left side is going to be so you have a light to hook up. If you had to hook up at night, you got a light to see. Our other one here so that we're able to raise and lower the unit. This is how we get on and off the tow vehicle. This is also how we level from front to back. I do always like to recommend, though, before you unhook from the tow vehicle, to make sure you're level from side to side first. They do have little levels you can buy that you can stick on the front and on the side of the coach. But we usually like to recommend a carpenter's level right inside the doorway. Okay, make sure you're level from side to side. You might have to put a block down on one side or the other, but use that tow vehicle to roll onto it. Once you're good from side to side, unhook from the tow vehicle. Make sure you unhook your chains, everything else, and then pull forward and then level front to back using this guy here. A lot of times you are going to be elevated when you get off the tow vehicle, so a lot of times you're going to be bringing this guy down to level. This little spot here on the back is so that is a manual crank option. This guy just pulls out, and that tool is located in our storage compartment. Next, we're going to have our two 20-pound propane tanks. These guys have both been filled, minus what was used to test the propane system with. But this guy here is going to be your regulator. Right now, it is reading red because it's showing that our tank, it's not getting no propane flow. I'm going to turn this over here so you guys can see this guy. This is our little notch here. It tells us what tank we are using. So basically, I'm going to turn this guy on. Give it just a second. And then he should go to green. Okay, now we're getting the propane flow. Once this tank is empty, that would show red. This regulator is designed to where you can have both tanks on. And once your one tank has been emptied, it will start pulling from the other tank. But you're not going to know that unless you come out here and look at this regulator. Because basically what it'll be doing is it'll be reading red for the tank that it's pointing at and trying to read. And then we do have our little storage container box that goes over that right there. Then back behind there is going to be two 27 series batteries. They're running parallel style. All right, as we come around here to the side, we're going to have our side, basically our side camera, and there's positioned on each side. Then we got our compartment door here. Inside our compartment area, we're going to have a 110 outlet that is GFCI protected. Cable and satellite hookup, so if you had campground cable, you'd hook up to there, and I'll show you what you got to do once we have stepped inside for that campground cable, or if you had a satellite. This switch here is going to be for those front cap lights that are on the front of the cap. We turn those guys on and off. Then we have our battery disconnect. So what this guy here is whenever you're storing the campers, basically when you want to turn this key off, basically you're just going to turn it, pull the key out. Okay? That way, if things were left on, it would not potentially drain the battery. Especially if the fridge was left on, the solar panels do struggle to try to keep that battery charged up when the refrigerator is trying to pull a lot of power. Then down below is going to be our little outside shower area. It's a quick connect fitting. You also have a little spray port on the back side. I'll show you where that is once we get there, but basically you're going to use the same hose. But you got hot and cold water from this point. And then underneath there, you're going to have where your freshwater fill is located to fill the freshwater tank. And then to use the city water is going to be on the right side. For the city water, you always want to make sure that you got a pressure regulator on the water spigot. From there, your options of an inline water filter and then your blue or white water drinking hose. From there, you're going to hook it up and you're going to be ready to use the water system. Okay, the nice thing is you have an on-demand water heater, so as long as things are turned on, the propane's on, our switch on the back is on, and the controller inside is all on, you're going to be able to use the hot water pretty well quickly. And I'll show you that as we cruise around the rest of the unit. Then this guy here is actually a motion sensor light. On the bottom of this switch here, there's going to be a 0 for the off position in the middle. And then there's going to be a 1 hash mark and a 2 hash mark. The 1 hash mark, the light's going to continuously stay on. The 2 hash mark is the motion sensor setting side. So as you see here, I do have this panel taken off. The reason for that is basically to show you that this here is going to be for when you go to winterize your coach. So you would turn that line there to the in line with this hose, and this would go into your antifreeze. And then you're going to shut the other line off over there so the pump isn't trying to pull from the fresh water tank. It's going to be pulling from this. So there's 2 lines there you got to turn. And then this little panel right here actually goes over it. And then here on our sidewall is going to be where the small one is our manual crank tool for the tongue jack. And then our bigger one there is going to be for the slide room. I'll show you that once we've made it around to the other side of the coach. And then we got our solar controller panel here. Basically, this just monitors the battery. Once the batteries get below a certain level, it'll allow the current from the solar panels to come through and charge the batteries. Once the batteries have reached full, it cuts that circuit off so it doesn't overcharge the batteries. All right, so the next here, it's going to be labeled as your fresh water drain. So down below here, you're going to have two blue hoses. One's going to be an overflow, and one's going to be your breather tube. And then over here to the side is going to be where our drain is for the fresh water tank. Basically, you're just going to turn this knob, and we're going to start draining the fresh water out. Nice, simple, and easy. Go ahead and shut that off there. Well, we're also down here. Next thing located is going to be the low point drains. You got your red for hot, blue for cold. Basically, you use these when you go to winterize your coach. I also like to use these guys when I am done camping. I like to open those guys up, open up a faucet. As you head home, the air is going to blow through those lines, push any excess water out so you wouldn't have any water that was left behind that becomes stagnant or bad. Okay, because it can happen. As I slide around a little further down the floor here, next we're going to have our stabilizer jacks. Pretty much once the camper has been leveled from side to side, the front to back, then you're going to lower these guys. Basically, this one here is going to be for the door side. This one here is going to be for the off-door side. This is for the front stabilizers. You have another switch, two more switches in the back of the coach for the rear stabilizers. This guy here is going to be our black tank flush. This guy is a sprayer inside the black tank, sprays out the nastiness when we're done camping. Okay, I always like to recommend using a pressure regulator at the spigot. The reason why is because there's a plastic check valve on the back of this. Too strong a pressure can damage that check valve. But then you also want to go out and get yourself a black hose. You like to keep it simple. Black tank, black hose. So blue or white is going to be your fresh water or drinking water hose. Black is for sewer. And then that brings us over here to our sewer area. Basically, you got a light here, so if you had to hook up and dump at night. And then we're going to have two handles down below, a gray and our black. Black is going to be for just the toilet. So whenever you're doing your tank flush, you're going to hook up your sewer hose first. This piece here is always on the end of your sewer hose that goes into the ground. From there, you're going to pull the black handle to start dumping. Then hook up your fresh tank, or your black tank flush, and start flushing. Once you have gotten clear water coming out of this guy, you're going to shut the water spigot off, unhook the hose from there, and then you're going to close this guy off by pushing it inward. And then you would pull to open your gray. Okay, the reason these are both open now is because it was fresh, clean water to test the system in here, so I had both valves open at the same time. You never really want to do that, so that way the black tank doesn't potentially backflow into the gray tanks and it starts causing the sinks to start stinking up on you. Basically, this gray is going to be for the bathroom sink and shower. And I will show you where your kitchen sink one is located. It's going to be on the back. It's going to have a different style, or it's going to have its own hookup for draining. We will talk about the tires once we've gotten to the other side. I will stay, so with this style slide room, it is a through frame style slide. So every now and then it will start making noises on you. When that happens, you're just going to try to get underneath this guy and just try to spray some like graphite or dry silicone. Something that isn't going to attract a bunch of debris, but you're going to basically spray these gear sprockets, spray the arms here, and then you're going to spray inside there as well. Basically on both sides, run the room in a couple of times, and it usually will quiet it right up. And then back here is where our drain is going to be located for just the kitchen sink, and it does have its own gray handle located right here. And then this guy here is for our rear stabilizer jacks. We got our 30 amp power cord. It does come with the coach. If you decide you're trying to put an outlet in at your home, here's instructions for an electrician. A lot of people will try to hook this up to a 220 and you will fry everything in your camper if you're not careful. It will happen. All right, so this guy here is going to be basically the back of your water heater. The only thing I got to really just show you on the back side here is going to be this switch right here. So this is considered to be a main power switch. If this is in the off position, which is the circle, the control panel inside does not have power, so you're unable to control the water heater. This does have to be on. A lot of time, the only time you're going to do this is when you go to winterize the coach. So that way when the water's going through there to winterize, it isn't trying to heat that antifreeze up. That just pushes the lock in. We got our observational backup camera installed. This guy here is just going to be pretty much our overflow for the bathroom, or for the kitchen sink. And then this guy here was that other quick connect fitting I was telling you about. This is hooked to just the cold water, but basically this is so you can kind of spray down the dog, spray the kids down if they ain't listening, the wife, or if the wife is spraying, the husband because they ain't wanting to listen, or spray your feet off because you're at the beach or something, or they're muddy. But that's what that guy's pretty good for. They do provide you a little leash holder here for your animal. Underneath is going to be a storage container. That guy is going to be this 751 key. So for our entry door here, you have two entry doors. This is going to be for the main area of the coach. The other one is just the bedroom or to access the bathroom a lot easier. But basically you have two purple keys for these doors. I actually labeled the one key, kind of colored it in with my black Sharpie, and I wrote a B on it. That kind of shows you either bedroom or bathroom or however you want to kind of look at it. But that is going to be basically for that door. I try to help make it a little easier for you so you ain't tumbling keys trying to figure out which one is which. But basically with our door, when you go to operate the door handle lock, it's going to turn to the right to lock the handle, and then you would pull the key out. For the deadbolt, turn the key to the left, and then you're unable to pull the key out. If you go to the right, you're able to pull that key out. That shows you did not lock your deadbolt. But generally you're going to lock your deadbolt and then put the key straight up and down to pull the key out. I'll show you how to operate our steps here in just a moment when we come back to our entry door. Next, we're going to have our tires. So with the tires, you got a notice sticker right here. This guy basically tells you want to check your lug nuts at 50, 100, and 200 miles. And these guys are torqued to 110 foot-pounds. Okay? I always like to recommend when you leave the campground, the first place we usually stop is the gas station to refuel to head home. While you're refueling, you can check the lug nuts. You're knocking out two birds with one stone. All right, you also do want to keep these guys topped off to 80 PSI. As you see, there are green caps on these guys. It shows that there has been nitrogen put in these tires. I have topped these tires off to 80 PSI with just regular air. Okay, you can put regular air in there. Just note you are losing that nitrogen. If you decide you want to put nitrogen back into the tires where it's all nitrogen, well, majority nitrogen, wherever they have that nitrogen station position located at, you just tell them that regular air is put in those tires so they know to purge the tires. Generally, they try to put it where it's 95 to 98% nitrogen, and then you're still going to have a little bit of regular air in there. We do have two outside speakers. Where do I have my other one? Oh, over there on the other side of the awning. I'll show you how to turn those guys on and off once we have stepped inside. We do have our furnace here, intake and exhaust. We do not want to try to block this guy so it can properly breathe. We do like to recommend getting mud dauber screens to put over these to help keep mud daubers and wasps out of there from creating nests, because those can create issues. Next, we're going to have pretty much our cable hookup and satellite. So you can bring the TV outside if you wanted to. They got the sticker here to tell you where you can mount an outside mount for the TV. And then you have a GFCI outlet as well. And then basically these steps here are really simple. These guys just fold in, just grab them, pull, real nice and easy. No idea what that was, my apologies. My phone's never made that noise. So then inside this compartment, basically we got a lot of our hitch stuff where we're waiting on the tow vehicle to get here so we can finish putting that together. There is a bag, so you are able to put over the tongue jack to keep it protected from the weather. And the sun has already kind of sun faded that guy a little bit, so it is kind of doing its job. And then we have our observational camera back there as well. All right, so now we're going to come back here. We're going to talk about our steps. So with our steps here, there's a couple things that you always have to note. We're going to go ahead and bring these guys up. So these guys are always going to lock You got a lock pin that locks behind here, and then when the door's shut, it keeps it secured so it doesn't go flopping all down the road as you're going down the road. These guys here, so you're able to adjust the feet. A lot of times people usually have these all the way down, and then they bring the step down and then just slide them out to get it level. When you bring it out, you're gonna bring this guy down. But you want to try to make sure that this is as flat with the threshold as possible. Okay, like this side here is actually pretty nice and flush, but I see that this side is slightly elevated, so I needed to elevate, or I need to bring this guy in just a little bit to help suck them flush. Okay, if this guy is too elevated, it can cause damage to both the screen door and the entry door. And you do always want to make sure the screen door is all the way open when you go to bring these steps in or out. If it's not all the way open, it can cause damage to the screen door when trying to bring it down. All right, as we step inside, we're gonna have our fire extinguisher right here to the right side. And then on the left side is gonna be where our control panel is located. So with our guide, pretty much it will tell you the status of your battery. We are plugged in, so it is gonna be reading full. We got the fresh water tank, so we still have a third of water in there. Our black tank empty, gray 1 and gray 2. Gray 1 was our kitchen, and gray 2 was the gray 1 was the bathroom, gray 2 is your kitchen. Then you got the water pump. You're only using the water pump if you are using the fresh water tank. If you're hooked to city water, you do not need this guy. Then we got our interior lights, awning lights, and then we have accented lights, basically underneath our countertop and above our slide. And then this is to bring our slide room in or out. When you kind of hear that clicking sound, you want to stop. And then this is to bring our awning in or out. Make sure that you do have a few minutes of time because these guys are not the fastest guys in the world. And if you do have the bedroom door open, you do want to make sure that door is not blocking the other arm for our awning. So basically, with this guy, there's a little sticker here on this side that tells you where to hold down and pull down to adjust the pitch. Pretty much put an angle on it. Okay, this is meant to be as a shade protectant. And they do always recommend that if your camper is being unoccupied, your awning should be brought in. You never know when strong gusts of winds can occur or a pop-up storm, anything along those natures. Too strong gusts of wind can cause damage to both the awning and the camper if you are not careful. All right, so while that guy is coming in, basically right here is going to be our owner's manual or manual packet. So for most of the appliances in the coach, there's going to be the manuals for those guys. There isn't a manual for the camper specifically. Basically with that, you're going to have this sticker right here. Basically, you download an app, you put in your camper information, and it downloads like a PDF file for all about your camper. And then they have this other nice little graded side as well.
And this is cool. It rolls up so you can store it in a drawer if you don't want it there.
Absolutely. We've got 12-volt hookups for charging, 110 on each side of the sink. These guys here are, to turn these guys on, are going to be a little center push button. We do have 3 drawers here, and then down below here is going to be where our fuse control panel box is located. So basically with this guy, anything that runs on 110, or you have to be plugged into Sure Power, is going to be on the breakers. And they do have everything right here labeled for you which one is which. And then everything that runs off the battery or the 12-volt system is going to be on your fuses. And once again, those are labeled right here. You got storage underneath the sink as well and above. Then next we're going to have our microwave. Pretty self-explainable. We always like to recommend setting the clock. If you guys go out, you see the clock isn't set right. That means there was a power failure at the campsite. You do want to look and see if it was from the campsite itself or from the electric company. Then we're going to have our exhaust fan. We got our light and our fan. Sounds like a slight jet engine. You got this little board here in the back. Nice little decorative board, but the nice thing is you can actually store some knives in there if you wanted to. And then this here is going to be our stovetop area. You do have to lift. It's a trifold lift. We had that propane on for just a brief moment, so we'll see if we don't get something out of here. Oh, look at that. Now that guy's only going to probably run for about 8 seconds to 10 seconds because, as you see, it's already shutting off on us because I shut the tank off. And then you got your light here on the end as well. Nice thing is this is a spark igniter for both the stove top and for the oven. The oven is going to be on this side. You're going to do the same concept. You're just going to turn this guy to the flame icon, but you got to press and hold it in and then use the spark igniter. Usually you can position this just right and you can actually see that spark from the glass, and you can see when that pilot is lit. After it's been lit, hold it in for 5 to 7 seconds and then set the temperature. Next, we're going to have our 12-volt style fridge. This is a guy that can drain your battery if you're ain't careful. But basically inside the freezer, you can do some adjustments here to where it's a multi-airflow. So this guy will actually shoot air into the fridge area to also help cool it down as well. Frozen water bottle. Shows our freezer's working good. Then down below, I got my little ice cold water bottle right here. But down here is where you can actually set the temperature for the fridge itself. We like, when we first turn it on, like to have it on 4 or 5 to get it up to temp. And then after that, you know, I usually like to have it on, usually about 3 is pretty sufficient. So when you go to turn this guy off, it even tells you right here, you're going to hold this set button for 10 seconds to turn it off. And basically, as you see in the off setting, these 2 lights would be lit up. And it's even a battery monitor, so it's telling you the battery status as well. I may not have held it down far enough. But then the manual for the fridge is in there as well. All right, then we got some storage here. In these 2 compartments down below is actually a dog bowl area where you could food and water for the dog. And then this area here is where our TV is going to be. But I'm going to take 2 seconds to step over to the side here. It's getting a little toasty in this guy, and I'm just going to turn this on for a brief second. We're going to come back and talk to him in a minute. But it's getting warm in here. Back behind your window is going to be a behind your TV is a fire exit window. If you couldn't make your way to the doorway. So to bring our TV up is going to be our switch right down here. That will automatically stop. You got a USB hookup for charging, 110 as well. And then we're going to have our remote right here. They got a nice little smart style. Right, so with our TV, once you get to a new location, you do have to scan for channels. Basically, to do so, you got your menu button right here. You would press the menu. Oh, going too fast for it. And then basically just go to auto tuning. And then just hit this center button here and just follow the prompts through to start scanning for channels. It'll ask you TV or cable. If you have that campground cable, you do want to turn off that TV antenna booster that's actually located in the bedroom, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. So, up above the TV is going to be where our radio is located. Hit your center button to turn it on, and it'll take just a second, and then it'll tell you welcome. And then we got our radio. So, speaker zone 1 is going to be your inside speakers, which is just these guys. Speaker zone 2 is going to be your outside speakers. You can have both of them on at the same time if you wanted to. I will note though, they do have the TV hooked up to this. So if you call, right next to our power button is going to be mode. Push mode, auxiliary in, TV, DVD, and Bluetooth. So you're able to connect to Bluetooth as well off your phone. I seen that they have the coax cables. I didn't notice on the back when I was fixing an issue if that was tied into the TV or the auxiliary. I apologize. Here, we can find that out for you real quick. So as our TV's coming back on, basically this is going to be our remote for the radio. All right, so. Maybe I misinformed you.
kid, I was always interested in aviation. Later on in life, I got interested in antique advertising. So when I saw the sign, I had to have it. TWA was in their heyday between the 60s and 70s.
I guess they don't have that hooked up. My apologies, I misinformed you. And then our last remote is actually going to be for our fireplace. Basically, you can choose between Celsius and Fahrenheit to turn it on. You change the flame brightness. It's got a timer from 30 minutes to 9 hours, and then adjust your temperatures. That's located down here at the bottom. We've got the air conditioner on, so we can't technically turn that on right now. So we'll just go ahead and jump to this side real quick. So up top here is going to be our thermostat for the on-demand water heater. Turn it on, and then I have it set as high as it goes, which is 123 degrees. But this is where you can change it between Celsius or Fahrenheit. But it's designed to where you can actually set this temperature to what you would like the hot water to be. And with the on-demand is you can actually turn on just that hot water side and be able to take a shower. And you wouldn't have to turn on the cold water. That's one nice little feature about on-demand water heaters. That's what they're trying to set them up and design to be like. But depending on the campground and the water pressure that you're getting, this guy can vary. So then next we're going to have our thermostat here. Basically, you press and hold to turn it on and off. But then we got our cool setting, and you're able to adjust the temperature. It only goes as low as 60. And then you got your fan speeds here. Right now it's got an A there for auto, where it would shut on and off to your desired set. It just shut off on us. But then you can turn it on low fan or high fan. But in these two settings, the air conditioner will just continue to run. It will not shut off to the desired temperature. Then after that, you're going to have the furnace. And then from there, you just set your temperature. That guy already came on, but we ain't got no propane, so he ain't going to get hot. But then we have just the fan. And then you have a dry setting. So what the dry setting is actually designed for is so that if you're in a real humid area, you turn this dry mode on, and what it does is it causes, it works so that the compressor doesn't have to overwork to try to cool the unit down. So what it will generally do is it will run for 10 minutes and then shuts off for 6 minutes. It prevents the compressor from freezing. But generally you're going to use that dry setting whenever it's in a humid area. And usually it'll like to flash the whole time if it's humid. Once it's not humid, that dry setting would stay solid. And then from there you can just swap it back over to cool. Alright. So next we're going to have the bathroom area. You got your medicine cabinet. This is where your GFCI is located, so if some of the outlets ain't working in the coach, come make sure this guy hasn't been tripped. And then we got our... Did I turn the pump? Nope, I left our pump off. Alright, but then you got your sink, storage underneath. On the other side, we're going to have our toilet. So for the toilet, you would lightly press on this pedestal to add water so you can do your business. All the way down, it's going to flush, but it's going to leave some kind of liquid in the bottom of this bowl. You always want some liquid in that bowl so that seal doesn't get dry rotted or brittle. When that happens, then the smell can start to come through, and we just don't want that. I also like to say if you take non-stick cook spray the bowl of the toilet. It helps everything slide down easier and makes an easier clean for the cleaner. And then our door here, basically, you lift this guy. This is magnetic, so it'll just stick right to this guy here.
Well, hello again.
Hello again. And then over here we're going to have the shower, your hot and cold water. This guy here will just slide, locks into place. It's got a little bit of play, so if you bump it with your elbow, when you're going to open this from the inside, you're going to pull it towards you and push in, or pull it towards you to release, and then help guide it back. And then we got our other latch for the bedroom door. And then we're going to have our door to the bedroom. Each side does have 110 and USB hookups, 2 little small drawers, and a little closet space. And then storage up above as well, 2 individual reader night lights. It's got a nice little storage compartment in the back side. Basically, that's designed for CPAP machines. Under the bed, we do got some extra storage as well. Usually a nice little spot for like a dog bed. But you do also have 2 drawers here as well and a little shelving space up here. Dog toys, things like that. We do have another fire exit window, just in case you couldn't make your way to the door. Just saying. You have a fire that cuts the camper right in half, it can happen. But then you got your shades here. Basically, your shades will just all come down like that. Nice little dark shades. And then up here is where our TV antenna booster is located. You got the green light here to show that it's on. There's a button right here you push to shut it off. So whenever you're trying to use that campground cable, you're going to be you're going to turn this off so that cable signal can come through. Basically, when this is on, the antenna is considered to be the primary source, and we just got to shut that source off. And then you got your outlet. It is pre-wired for a Wi-Fi setup, and then we have our light switch for the bedroom here. All right, so now we're going to backtrack. And then we're going to have our nice little recliner area. So you got storage here as well on the sides. But basically, you're going to have a handle here on each side for the recliners. And then you do got storage inside as well. And then we have our table. Our table here, basically with this guy, where was he? This here is so that you're able to lock it into place so it wouldn't potentially flip on you. Of course, now I got it on there. I'll make it too tight. You will probably break a nail trying to release this. I'm going to get that guy undone one way or another. I'll tell you that. Come here.
The good news is it locks.
It's locked.
It locks so that you will not.
So generally, this one's not like that. Okay. So when it's unlocked, basically I try to have my feet there. This guy will just simply fold down like so. And from there, you can store this under the bed. And I'm going to say under the bed because it doesn't look like there's enough space behind the recliner. And then, let's see. Let's go ahead and just talk about real quick about your the air conditioner here. Basically, you do want to check this filter usually every 90 to 120 days. Make sure it cleans out so it's properly breathing. We do got our smoke detector located up there. Oh, and that's, I knew I was missing something. This guy right down here. This here is going to be our carbon monoxide and LP detector. Basically, when this guy goes off, it's potentially sensing propane, carbon monoxide. Those are the two major dangers. But there are other things it causes to set off. Cleaning supplies, hairspray, animal gases, okay? It can happen. But you do want to test this guy every 9 to 14 days simply by pushing this button. And it's going to go another beep. And then this one should have another style beeping. And then goes back to green. So we just performed a test. These guys are only good for about 7 to 10 years. I have seen them go out before that. But this actually does have a replace date on the front. That's nice. Most of them you usually got to take it off and it's got the sticker on the back side, which is I kind of think is a little redundant. All right, but then from there, we have basically made our way back to our door. And if you guys do have any questions, please feel free to call us. We'll do our best to answer those over the phone for you. And hopefully this was knowledgeable and informational for you. Thank you and have a wonderful day.